and they found that the baby was had passed away. We are human beings caring for other human beings.
Who create the changes of the time? Who create the visions of your mind? The visions of your mind.
I actually decided that I wanted to be a midwife from the age of 12. I really don't know what came over me. I think I initially wanted to be a pediatrician, but I remember saying to my mum, oh, pediatricians, they have to give babies injections, and that's not for me. Of course, as a midwife, I'm giving babies injections, and I'm actually trained to give the BCG injection, so that went out the window. But being a midwife, I had to attend university for 3 years to gain my Bachelor of Science midwifery degree. So I started the training when I was 18 and I finished by the age of 21. So I've been a midwife for 6 years. But yeah, it's been a lifelong dream. The training is hard work. It is definitely, and the job itself is hard work. I think a lot with the midwifery degree, you find that the students, if you look at the scope of students that we have, they range from 18-year-olds all the way to 50, 55-year-olds. So you'll find a whole massive age range of our students. So I was a baby. I started when I was 18 years old. So immediately I was thrown into a field of caring for women who are older than me. So you have the question, how old are you? You look really young. Are you sure you're a student midwife? So you have to battle all of those things. But I think it made me quite mature in terms of I'm obviously handling 2 lives when I'm caring for a student, and then of course as a midwife. So I faced that during the training. Of course, you see things as you go along throughout the training, and when you start your job, being a student and then going into being your own autonomous midwife, the jump is crazy. Like, you go from having a mentor, you are well supported when you start as a midwife, but you're now thinking for yourself. You have your own NMC pin, so those patients are now my patients. There's lots of things that we see as midwives. We see some saddened scenarios where women go through bereavement, and obviously you have the upsides of welcoming new life into the world. So the journey is always changing. Every day is not the same in midwifery, and that's one of the things that I love about it. There's so many joys of midwifery. One, the people that I've come across, being friends that I've made in my career from my training. One of my best friends, I met her as we started the training, so we've been friends for almost 10 years. And then the friends that I've met across the 10 years that I've been training and working, so that's colleagues and also the patients that I've met. You always have certain patients who stick in your head, the ones that you've cared for along the way. So that is one aspect that is really beautiful. Other aspects, other joys of the job, obviously bringing new life into the world. That's one of the biggest rewarding things that you could do as a midwife, supporting women and their partners to become parents, watching how they bond with this new life, how they care for the baby, and helping them, especially if they're first time and they have no idea. You see them day by day when they're in the hospital and at home, how they go from strength to strength looking after their newborn. What else? There is so many things. When you get something right, when you tackle a shift that has been absolutely crazy, but you made it through. I was there from 7:45 till 8. You go home and you feel like, okay, I've done that day. I've accomplished that shift. I managed to discharge people home. I gave people the best care I could. So there's so many I could list off. So obviously within midwifery, you do have women who suffer pregnancy loss and deal with bereavement during their pregnancy. And each case or each patient that you look after that is going through this difficult time, it is hard. It is very hard looking after women in this scenario. However, we make sure that we're empathetic, we're compassionate, we're caring, and we make sure, we're just there for the women. The definition of midwife is with women. So we make sure that we're with our women as they're going through these times. I think a more current issue facing maternity in the country is the staffing shortage. So that's been one of the biggest issues that we've been facing in recent years, because we're finding that we're losing our older midwives to retirement, and the younger midwives who are coming in, the job is very stressful. So we do face burnout. You'll find, I'm sure there's high levels of burnout in midwifery. So that is one of the difficult things as well, dealing with making sure that we're caring for our patients safely, taking care of ourselves as well, but also having to manage, you know, the numbers that we're looking after with such a small staff force. That is a good question. I'm trying to think. I don't think anything has caused me to want to look in a different career field, because once you're in midwifery and you've gotten deep into midwifery, you understand that it is stressful. It is stressful. I cannot stress that enough. It is difficult. But if you love it enough, you will work through it. You'll find ways to cope with what we deal with. I would say one of the most devastating times I've had in my career, I remember I was a student. I hadn't actually qualified just yet. I was in my final year, and I looked after a woman who she had planned to have her C-section on a weekday morning. But before they went in to do the C-section, the routine is that you would listen into baby's heartbeat to make sure the baby is well before obviously going into the operative procedure. And they found that the baby had passed away. But because of her gestation and the fact that she was obviously due to have the baby that day, she still had to go through the whole birthing process. So that was so difficult, so difficult. You're trying to manage your own emotions because you don't want to seem like you're breaking down, like you're weak, but you're also dealing with the woman and the family who obviously did not expect this at all and is such a shock. So that was devastating.